Soul Simmers, and welcome back to yet another video in the Mod Mansion series. For anyone who has missed this series up until now and is wondering what we're working on, this is basically a big project that I worked on over on my Twitch streams. And on Twitch, you have something called a Twitch mod, and it is a person who helps you out to keep the chat safe, to answer questions from viewers, to make sure that you as a streamer take breaks, stuff like that. And honestly, I could not do what I do as a streamer without the help of my moderators. So to kind of honor them and to, like as a way of saying thank you, I guess. That's how this project sort of came to mind. I wanted to build them a house in The Sims. And we started calling this the Mod Mansion. And the idea is that I built them a big, beautiful mansion in ELSWHERE Valley where all of my moderators would get their own room. And in their room, we would like use items or colors or hobbies or anything that would represent that specific person. So it would next to be like a thank you for the mods, it would also be a project that would allow us to get to know the mods themselves better. This would be for me, but also for people in chat that might know my mods by name, but might not like actually know who they are or what their hobbies are or what they do in life. And it was a really fun project for all of us to basically just get to know each other better, because we were working on all of this and we were working on like, room taste and specific like preferences for your personal space. And all of that kept sparking a lot of conversation on how you would set up certain things in your house. So in the end, I feel like it was a project that allowed all of us to get to know each other better, and not just me to get to know the mods better or chat to get to know the mods better. And I really, really, really love this project. This is actually right before disaster struck in the project though, because not long after building this specific bedroom, actually the second bedroom in this episode is recorded into two parts, because midway through the second bedroom in this video, I actually lost the entire project. I had a version saved to my gallery that didn't have any windows or doors. It did have the floor plan, but it also didn't have any landscaping. So in the midst of this video, if all of a sudden you see that the rest of the house is empty, even though in the beginning of the video it isn't, that's because I had to recover the shell and basically work from there. There was actually a time where I wanted to completely give up on this project, but honestly, the appreciation that I feel for my mods just kept me going, because I wanted them to have a room. I wanted them to have that moment to shine, to, like have themselves represented in the game and have that moment of chat getting to know them. So that is really what kept me going in this project. And this room in particular is a very, very special one. Because as you might notice, I am building this huge walk-in wardrobe, but you might be wondering, wow, is this just for one person? How can one person have that many clothes? But actually, this room is for two people. And that is not just for any reason, because I actually have two moderators that are a couple. And the best part of the whole story is that they did actually meet through Twitch. They didn't just meet in my chat. We actually have a couple of content creators, like a couple of streamers that have a huge overlap in their community. And they basically met in like all the chats combined and started talking more. And then they became friends, and then they became more than friends. And this room is for my two moderators named Swedi and Petra. Actually, my moderator Swedi is not actually called Swedi, he's called Joel, but I never call him that. I always call him Swedi. His original username on Twitch used to be the Swedish Dev, and I'm not calling him Swedi as in like Swedi, like a sweetheart or something. I'm literally calling him Swedi as in SWEDI, because his username used to be the Swedish Dev, and that just sort of got shortened to Swedish, and then Swedish got shortened to Swedi, and then he actually changed his username on Twitch to Swedi, so we kind of just ran with it and committed to the bit. So ever since then, he's been called Swedi. But in case you wonder, like in case you hear me say Swedi all the time in this video, it's actually his username. I'm not even coming up with nicknames at this point. But he and Petra have been together for quite a while now, and he is from Sweden and she is from Romania. And she very recently, or I'm saying very recently, it's been a while now, but it still feels quite recent because time is moving so fast. But she actually moved from Romania to Sweden, so they now live together. And I wanted to make sure that this apartment actually represented both of them, and that it would have items that represented, I was gonna say both of their surveys, but Swedi was one of the mods that very cheekily decided to not actually fill in the survey. He did this together with my other moderator, TubTub. Both of them joined very early on. Swedi was actually my very first mod on Twitch. So he was like, you've met me, you've been to my apartment, we've hung out a bunch of times. You know what? I'm not going to give you any answers to my questionnaire. So you're going to have to figure out everything you know about me based off of all the times that we've chatted. And Petra did actually fill out the questionnaire. So I had like basically the experience from visiting Swedi's house that he now lives in with Petra, and like Petra's questionnaires combined to sort of figure out what their shared taste would be like. And let me actually tell you the answers to Petra's questionnaire first. So Petra's favorite color is red. Her hobbies are gaming. If she had to describe her interior aesthetic in 3 words, it would be IKEA, modern, and cozy. She would say that she's more of a maximalist. She's not a super cluttery person, but if she has clutter, it's because of her clothes. And she says that she has mostly pajamas or like clothes that you would wear at home. She considers herself to be pretty messy. I almost said she considers herself to be a pretty messy sim. I guess we're building a house in The Sims, so that goes. At the time of filling out this questionnaire, she said, I don't have a job yet, but most of the time my main activity is playing video games. Actually, as of recording this voiceover, I now know that she does have a job. And she actually told me about it when she was visiting in the Netherlands over the summer. And I know that she works a lot, like she works very hard. So I hope that this space can be a space where she can come home and sort of like retreat to and relax in, because I feel like that is important. Also, in case you're wondering why I just added garlic on the nightstand and why I'm trying to add a vampire urn or like a bat urn and something to this room, that's because Petra always jokes that she's a vampire coming from Romania. And I wanted to make sure to have those like little details sort of hidden in here. While we were in chat, I also showed her, and she actually really loved all the little vampire details that I ended up adding. I also tried to add like a bunch of her favorite colors, like the red color and stuff in the details. I also tried to add like her Romanian heritage in, for instance, the blankets that I added and the rug patterns that I chose, because I felt like even though the rest of the apartment very much was focused on the Swedish design of basically like IKEA furniture or like some stylish furniture that has that sort of Scandi look, I wanted to make sure to still incorporate a big part of her culture and her heritage as well to really blend them together. Petra's favorite food is fries, and one of the favorite places that she's ever traveled to is Marstrand in Sweden. She's not really an art person, so she can't really or couldn't really tell me what styles of art she enjoys. However, she says that she is a big anime nerd and that her collection or her room should probably have a collection of anime and comic books and like figurines or maybe something like that. And she says since she is a vampire, any hinting vampire related item would be nice to hide in the room. So that's also what I just told you, because I feel like that was a very important thing to add in here. I also end up adding a bunch of books on the bookshelves that look like it could be like an anime collection or something. I know that she's actually collecting a specific anime series, and then she's trying to collect the same book in all kinds of different languages. So I feel like that is definitely represented in this apartment. And then when it comes to Swedi, like I said, I've only had to all the information that I had in my brain to base this apartment off. So that was partially me visiting him when he just moved into his new apartment. That was also from the times that, you know, we've met and we have spoken. And at this point, we've known each other for, I would say, about 4 years. So I do had some good insights to work with. Something that I feel like is super important, you can see me at that here, is the darker cabinets. In his actual house or in their actual apartment, they have a dark blue kitchen. And because I didn't have to add a kitchen into this specific room, I felt like it was a bit weird to still add the cabinets at first, but it's just such an iconic part of their living space that I felt like it would make sense to still have it. And then I realized that I could just use it to make sort of a custom console for the TV and then have all the shelves next to it so that I could add like all the books and all the collectibles and things. And I actually think this turned out super cute, and I really like how this turned out like look wise, because I feel like it makes such a cozy corner, like such a cozy nook in the living room. Next to that, another very important detail that I'm gonna add later is the sofa, because actually I have this exact same sofa, and the whole reason I got it was because I was visiting Swedi in Sweden, and I sat down in his new apartment and I was like, wow, you have such a comfortable sofa. where did you even get this? Like, how did you get such a nice sofa? It's so, like, it also had the perfect size. It wasn't too big, but it still seated quite a lot of people. And he was like, oh, it's just IKEA. And I was like, there's no way that this super pretty sofa is from IKEA. But it actually turned out to be. And then when I was looking for a new sofa about 6 months later, I messaged him and I was like, could you maybe send me the name of this sofa? And I took my partner to go to IKEA to check out that sofa. And he also immediately loved this specific sofa, really enjoyed it. He was like, yeah, this is super comfortable. So we ended up getting the exact same sofa as Swedi. And I just feel like that is definitely one of those, I don't know, special stories that I have of my time in Sweden, is like the fact that the first thing I did was immediately scout his furniture and be like, okay, so where can I buy this? Because I want to have it too. Next to that, as you could see in the beginning of the video, I added a really big walk-in wardrobe. That is actually because Swedi does have a walk-in wardrobe in their apartment. So I remember seeing it before Petra moved in, so I don't know what it looks like right now. It is not as big as the one in this room, but I figured that it would actually be kind of a nice detail for them to have that. And specifically because I know that Petra owns a lot of pajamas and stuff, I figured I would give them a nice space to actually store all of those items. Other things that I found really important to add into this space was just like a cozy space for them to hang out and relax in, but primarily have that focus on gaming. So you can see that there's a Switch next to the TV, and I'm also building a double gaming setup for them where both of them have like their own desk with their own setup, which is something that they actually have in their house. To me, that was very important because for both of them, gaming is such an important hobby. It's something they really enjoy doing, but it's also literally the way that they met. It's like through Twitch, through the platform of gaming. They might play different games, but at the same time, they ended up in the same communities. So I feel like that should really be represented in both of them having like a nice setup where they could sit, enjoy their time on Twitch, and also potentially mod for my stream. You know, it's very efficient when you can directly chat with another mod to decide what to do with a certain chatter. Next to that, I also really wanted to have like a nice spot for them to read and hang out and spend quality time together. Like I said, both of them in my eyes like are really hard workers. Every single time that I talk to them, they are talking about, you know, like the things that they're doing at work, and they're just people that take on a lot of responsibility and take their job very seriously. So I wanted to make sure that when they come home, it's like the ultimate relaxation spot. They also have a private balcony, so I wanted to make sure to also have that like sort of relaxation reflected on the balcony. So later you'll see me add like this super cozy ultimate lounge chair where they can like hang out together and sort of take naps and, you know, just vibe. I feel like that is something that I found super important because, like I said, I think for both of them, their home is really that place where they get to relax. They get to relax together, they get to relax separately, but the most important thing, it's like it's their space and it reflects their hobbies and their personalities, and I hope I did that justice. For the rest of the specific room and their bathroom, I'm just gonna let you guys enjoy the speed build and the decoration with some nice music so you can watch it on the side if you're gaming yourself, and then I'll get back to you with the voiceover when I start working on the next room to tell you a little bit about the next moderator. So here we are working on the room for the next moderator, and that is Esther. And Esther did also fill in the questionnaire, so I'm going to start by sharing the answers that she gave to that one. Her favorite colors are dark blue and anthracite. Her hobbies are reading, shopping, and going out to eat. If she had to describe her interior aesthetic in 3 words, it would be clean, cute clutter, and subtle contrast colors. She sees herself as a bit more of a maximalist. She loves cute clutter and specifically things like minerals and crystals around her room. She considers herself a little bit neat and a little bit messy. She is mostly messy with clothes, but she does love tidying it all up and having a clean room. Her job is that she works at the hardware store, so she manages the paint department and the wallpaper aisle. Her favorite food is noodles and mandu, which is dumplings. One of the fave places that she's ever traveled to is Kleve in Germany, specifically for going shopping over there, but also just riding around the area. If she had to describe like the style of art that she enjoys, or just in general if she likes art, is that she really likes MC Escher, which was very funny because when I read that answer, one, it wasn't necessarily the answer I expected, because I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who mentioned Escher being their favorite artist, but it's actually my favorite artist as well. So that was a very fun learning experience to realize that somehow unknowingly I had picked a moderator that had the exact same favorite artist as I do myself. And then if there was any guidance or tips that she could share with me so that I could use it to make her room actually represent her, it says that she loves Christmas lights and like fake plants and basic posters. And as you can see, I added lights around the bed, I added lights around the room, we end up adding lights around the mirror. I feel like I just really went ham with the Christmas lights, but for every single time that I've seen pictures of Esther's room, like when she shares them with us in our little mod chat on Snapchat, I feel like I do always see like the little colored lights and the little fairy lights and stuff. So that to me, when she actually specifically mentioned that, was something that I really wanted to include because it just really resonated with how I view like basically what her like image is in my brain. If I think about Esther, I do always think about a specific shelving where she has like all these cute fairy lights that are also like colored lights and stuff. She also specifically mentioned that she has a lot of like gemstones and things, so I wanted to make sure to add that as well. And over here, I'm trying to make this cute cabinetry that, like I said, every single time that she sends us like Snapchats, she has this specific cabinet that really looks like this. So that's why I also tried to recreate it and like add some clutter on there. And then I'm adding some gemstones in it as decoration. And I feel like this room for me personally was quite a challenge because like dark blue and anthracite are 2 colors that I used to really love, like when I was younger. But I really grew out of these colors, and recently I've been like absolutely adoring like warmer colors and warmer tones. So for me, going back to the blue and gray color scheme was kind of a mind switch again to figure out like how do I work with these colors? Like how do I get them to match properly? And also how do I prevent this room from getting like really cool and almost like a bit cold? Because if there's one thing that I would never describe Esther as is like cold. She is one of the warmest people I have ever met in my entire life. She is super caring. She is always like super genuine to everyone that she meets. Also in my Twitch chat, but I've also met her at TwitchCon IRL. And I feel like that really reflects her personality. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't giving off like a really cool and distant look. I really wanted it to be like dark blue with gray, but like still cozy. So that's why I went for a lot of like warmer lights as well. And I think adding a bunch of clutter like this, where the room like basically looks like someone is actively living there and using the items that are in the room, that actually helped a lot. Something else that I really wanted to do here was, because I already had all the lights on the wall, I challenged myself to not use any ceiling lights. Again, I feel like that became sort of a trend in this specific mod mansion. After I read about the room from Lynn where she was like, I hate ceiling lights, I kind of was like, let me see if I can do that more often. And then I asked Esther, I was like, do you like candles? And she was like, oh, actually, yeah, I didn't really mention that, but I love candles, specifically scented ones. And I have so many in my house. I have like stacks also as backups for like when one is done, I have more. So then I kind of went ham on the candles because I feel like that became in my brain sort of like an easy way to add additional lighting to the room. Then also, like I said, somewhere halfway through this video, you're gonna notice that the rest of the build is gonna start being empty. Like as we're working right now, there are still things and, it still looks cozy if I rotate my camera, but this was the room that I basically had to recreate based on the first part of the recording. So somewhere amidst this room, I actually lost the entire project and I had to go back and I watched my own recording to then recreate what I had built so far in this room and then get back to it. And I actually very vividly remember the last conversation that we had while I was working on like the original version of the Mod Mansion, because it was kind of about this time in the stream where we started talking about the fact that Esther said that she owns a lot of clothes and a lot of clutter specifically around clothes, because she says, yeah, I'm a bit messy and I have like those spots in my room where I kind of just dump all of my clothes that I still can wear like maybe once or twice. So they shouldn't go back in the wardrobe and they shouldn't go in the laundry yet. And then I was like, you know what? I actually don't have a chair like that. And this sparked a huge debate on my stream on whether you are someone that has a laundry chair. And so many people initially did not believe that I do not have a chair like this. Like at the end of the day, I will either like put my clothes in sort of like on the laundry line to freshen up and then I put them back in my wardrobe the next morning, or I put them actually in the laundry, or I put them on like a little hook that I have on my door. And that's usually for things that I plan on wearing the next day or like in that same week still. But the funny thing is, people were so surprised that I did not have like a clothing chair. And then Esther was like, yeah, no, I definitely have a clothing chair. And we did a little poll on my stream and actually most people ended up owning a clothing chair. So if you're hanging out here, I would love to hear in the comments, like, do you have a clothing chair? And if so, what is on it? And like, how often do you clean it? And I just need to know. I just need to understand this concept more. But that's actually what you see me doing here. I'm like trying to find all the items that I can use to actually make a super messy like clothing area. And that is what I did last before we lost the actual project. So very soon, the house around it is going to get a bit empty. At this point, I am mostly just really happy that we have all these recordings. Like, I am really happy that in the end, maybe the full project no longer exists. Maybe it's no longer a thing that I can go back to or that we can go back to as a community. But it's such a nice thing that we have all the recordings and that we actually power it through, and that in a way, the Mod Mansion is done. Even though there's no actual version that exists that is fully done, I'm considering it done, and I'm happy that, I committed to still creating this home for my moderators. And that actually means that after this specific video, there is only one more video left in the Mod Mansion series. So I have 2 more bedrooms for 2 more moderators after this one. And yeah, it's been a really cool project. Let me know in the comments down below if you've also been enjoying it so far. Here you can also see me adding like some of the posters that in a way felt like quote unquote basic, but also felt like it could be an Escher poster. And then I just let Esther pick. I was like, which one of these do you like most? And then she picked these 3 and I kind of continued working from there. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on this specific episode of the Mod Mansion so far. And also would love to hear all your thoughts on the project as a whole. And then with that, I would like to see you on the next video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, all the fun stuff. And then I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.